morning, everyone. Welcome to the Wake Up Everybody Network. My name is Tara Gibson, and I am founder for Epilepsy. I'm very glad to be here, and I want to thank everyone for coming in. Grab your coffee, grab your openness to look at epilepsy as we talk about unshaken bonds, relationships, and epilepsy. And co-facilitating with me is Tiara. Speak, Tiara.
Hello, good morning, everybody. Welcome to be here with you all.
So let's get it.
Wake up, everybody. It's time to get up. Wake up, everybody. It's time to get up. Stay woke. Stay woke. Stay woke. It's time to get up. Stay woke. Stay woke. Stay woke. It's time to get up. We're healing, we're dealing, we're growing. Together, releasing. We're teaching, we're moving. Together, we're learning, discerning. We're striving. Together, we're leading, connecting, transforming. Together.
Good morning again. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your patience. I know we were a few minutes behind, but it's never. My name is Tara Gibson again, and I am founder of Seize the Cure for Epilepsy. And we are in a very beautiful and unique November is Epilepsy Awareness Month. And Tiara and I have been doing sessions for the whole month of November, and we still have one coming up for which is next week. And we are talking all about epilepsy. We've had a number of guest speakers on that have enlightened us with their journeys, and they all had new information to give since they all suffered from different types of epilepsy. I want to thank everyone for being here. We have a very good session today because what we are going to be touching on are a few things that have come up in the questions. And relationships and epilepsy are one, and also psychogenic seizures. So I want to thank everyone for being here. And can we move to? So briefly, just to discuss the mission of epilepsy, we pretty much focus on advocacy for not only the person that has epilepsy, but the families that are taking care of someone with epilepsy. That's been my biggest challenge. I myself have epilepsy, but my experience in dealing with the of this condition comes with my parenting of my son, which suffers from refractory epilepsy. So I just my cause attached to my artistry. Part of Seize the Cure is music and entertainment, and art. Music is healing. So that's the mission for Seize the Cure for Epilepsy. We can move to the next slide. And our programs that we have started in 2017 and have grown significantly. We have workshops, support groups, concerts, and forums. And we also have for radio, which will coming back. Our first support group will be starting on the 25th of November, which is this at 7 p.m. So anyone who is interested, We'll provide the information at the end of this session where you can RSVP, and we'll send you. Tierra and I will both be hosting the support groups monthly. And just to add to that, Seize the Cure 4 is officially the representation for the Bronx, and now going past the Bronx in representing awareness and advocacy. You can move to the next slide. So just to recap, what is epilepsy? Epilepsy is also known as a seizure disorder. A seizure, there are types of seizures. There are actually over 40 different types of seizures. I'm still learning all of them. But the one that has the most risk for injury are grand mal seizures, which you may know as convulsion. And is unconscious, falls to the ground, shakes violently. Sometimes they may urinate on themselves, or if they're not being helped during a seizure, eyes may roll behind, and foam or vomit coming out the mouth. Seizure is a brief, excessive surge of electrical activity in one or more parts of the brain. So for someone who has epilepsy, this symptom, and they may have consistent seizures. In the situation with my son, he's convulsions, and now he's been doing great by the grace of God. But with people with epilepsy, they a long time without having seizures, and the seizures could return later on. So they're not cured of epilepsy. The seizures in remission. Tierra, do you want to add anything? Oh, you gotta unmute yourself.
Muted.
Sorry.
No.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, for an example, like has this, and so when he gets an EEG, in the image you can see the active seizures, but they don't present. And just to give an example for people who are really not familiar with epilepsy, but a seizure compared to a glitch in a game. So if you've ever played a video game and you notice that certain parts of the game may glitch to get through it, that's a similar example of how a seizure presents itself in a person.
So Tierra, is it correct to say that with Eamon, only one part of his brain lit up during an EEG?
The front left part of his brain, yes.
The front left part. Okay. And see, it's a good comparison that you said, the glitch.
So a reason why the surgery was successful for him. With some patients, if the seizures are, cross, it's harder for them to try to stop them. Luckily, Eamon's was focused to a specific part of his brain.
And in comparison to Eamon, Malik, my son, his as a firework, his whole brain lights up during an EEG. So surgery is not an option because that brain. So I hope that helps everyone understand the difference. We can move to the next slide.
You're on mute, Tara.
That actually was a very good timing to be muted because my Alexa started going off for no reason. Because she was responding to the video. So for everyone who just watched the video, that was just to give you some kind of insight what someone with epilepsy or someone experiencing a seizure, whether it be a convulsion or an absence seizures, are seizures that you really don't notice. It may look like daydreaming or the person pauses. And either way, time is lost, whether it be a few seconds or a few minutes. I myself, my seizures as absence seizures, I still currently have them. And I have them in between speaking, and causes a lot of stress because sometimes the one thing that it affects is how I get my words out. There was a time that I could speak and everything came out the exact way that I wanted it. So now I find myself, as I'm older, seizure activity has increased. I'm constantly struggling trying to get out what I'm trying to say. And you may find that while I do my, it's something that is it's very hard to deal with because when you're a perfectionist or you know that something within yourself, it's very frustrating. And sometimes, you know, the psychological part that affects it, sometimes think, oh my God, I sound dumb, you know, or why can't I get, you know, my words out? It just comes with the condition. So accept it. I deal with it as best as I can. Once you learn to accept your condition, and this can go for anyone, to accept it, it's easier to deal with because you're not always criticizing yourself. On the other aspect, for someone who doesn't have epilepsy, but you're a caregiver, you may not feel what you saw in the video physically, but you feel that emotionally. And Tierra knows on such unique terms, and it's a long story I'm not going to get into again, but her and I have dealt with this and we can relate to each other. You want to add to that, Tierra?
This was my first seeing that video, and I kind of wish that I had seen that video when my son was actually having the act. It's so hard to try to watch it happening and not know what's going on. Although the video, it was just a video, but the descriptions were really good. Understand what my son was going through as he was going through these seizures, because I could imagine if it was so scary for us to watch, how it feels. Like in the video, how he said he will, you know, the image was of him waking up and it looked like he was just in the middle of war. And, you know, to wake up and not know what happened, how much time you lost, even get hurt in that fall. So to wake up and you're hurt, you're bruised, you're bleeding, the rug was pulled from under, and I could literally see that. And so it just gave me it just gave me a greater example of what my son was going through and what he was feeling. Video.
Yeah, it's definitely my first time watching it too. And it does explain a with and still deal with when it comes to my son. And it explains what I go through because as I was just saying, when you lose time, you can lose time in conversation. I could be speaking right now and while I'm speaking and you don't see it because I'm speaking. But a second later, I might not remember what I said. Comes up in relationships or friendships or at work or whatever you're doing in life, how that person that is suffering, it causes a lot of issues, because you may be looked at as, you're lying, because you're not consistent in what you say, and because you don't remember. You're
Right.
accurate in what you're saying. There's times that I'm very honest, and I'm not lying about anything. I'm not making anything up. I'm not omitting anything. But because I lost time within what I was saying, I may not remember. And it causes, issues in any kind of relationship that you have in life. And that's just one aspect watching this video, because sometimes it's very hard to explain something that you're going through and put it in words. Epilepsy, it's a neurological condition. So one of the things that's very hard is the verbal aspects. And that's taking in what you're hearing or what you're learning or what you're seeing and being able to express it, communication. So I'm very grateful that I was able to watch that video too, because it's hard. It's a hard journey. It's a hard journey for someone who has epilepsy. It's a hard journey for someone who has a child with epilepsy or anyone that they care for.
I'm gonna actually share. I would like to share it with. I have a nephew that also has epilepsy. I'm gonna share this video with him, and hopefully he could use it to share with other people to explain what he's going through. So I'm very grateful for the video.
Well, we're going to get into what this session, we're talking about relationships and epilepsy, but we're also going to be getting into two topics that have come up in a number of prior sessions, as I was saying before. And I wanted to kind of recap on. You're going to find that throughout this session, we're going to play a number of videos that explain comes with having epilepsy and relationships, and also psychogenic seizures, which all coincide with relationships and epilepsy. So I want to get into this next video where we can see what happens when this woman is having a seizure and her significant other is with her during it. And acts. So we can play that in.
Sorry. Okay. Okay. Zara. Zara. Okay. Zara. Zara. How you feeling?
Fine.
So you got epilepsy, huh? That's why you don't drink. How long you had it?
Since I was 6.
Why you ain't tell me the truth, huh?
Because people always act different.
There ain't no people over here. I mean, how am I supposed to take care of you?
Don't say that.
Zora, there's nothing wrong with being taken care of.
I don't want you thinking about me like that. I want you looking at me like that. Guys always say they can handle it, and then they...
What? What? You think I'm gonna walk over some shit like this?
I don't know.
Where am I at right now?
Laying next to me.
No, if you can't do it by Friday, tell him to...
All right, guys. So if you guys can just put something in the comments. How do you guys feel after watching? What came to mind? How would you have felt? You were the person that had to witness your significant other in such a condition.
I do want to say that I'm gonna watch this movie. First time watching. I heard about this movie from prior sessions. That it was suggested to watch. That scene it got me a bit emotional because I've seen my son have seizures. I myself have had a number of convulsions, and it was during I was in past relationships, and I've never thought to myself, what do I look like having one? And Wesley Snipes in this clip was very supportive, attentive, admitting that you have epilepsy. For a woman like myself, you know, I'm a go-getter. I take care. I take, you know, I'm very proactive and educated, and seeing that, it makes me think about how the thing that I feel is, especially in front of the wrong person. And I think everyone knows what I mean by the wrong person. It puts you're vulnerable at that time that you're having a seizure, and you're vulnerable to the person that is with you, meaning they can actually use that to their advantage, and doing more hurt you. And I'm not just speaking on a level of personal experience. I know a number of people that they've struggled in relationships because of this one thing right here, the vulnerability physically and emotionally. Having a relationship with someone who's abusive or neglectful or manipulative. If you're in an argument and you're getting your point across and you want to make sure that you are defending yourself, and then the stress makes you have a seizure. How does that make you feel? I know how it makes me feel, because I know with me, my seizures are triggered by severe stress. And if I'm in a situation, anger is through the roof, I will have a seizure before I, go hit somebody. And it makes you feel like you're weak. This scene it really I got emotional looking at it, because it gave me the visual of what was happening to me when I had mine. And it's a very feeling right now looking at that. We have a number of comments.
Yeah, let me jump in and share some of the information from the chat. Healthy, wealthy, and wise. I feel more compassionate about seeing that video Acceptance is key. Moving forward from there, Kaisha says, Sinead Latham acting was so real. I wonder if she was actually having a seizure during filming. T. Berry says she did a great job. It did look real. Healthy and Wise says, speak more about the wrong person, please. Um, I want to add a comment too when I'm done with this. Like you said, yes, give us examples to look for. Sister Laura says it is scary when you don't know what's happening. And I think that's what we have. Let's see if there's any more.
Dr.
Oh,
Shola.
Dr. Olushola. Good morning, Grand Rising. That's it looked scary, but seeing how he handled it was so reassuring. And I could see the shame in her after it happened, but again, he was so accepting and loving. And I think we are complete with the chat. So I just want to jump in and say I do think though that information is key. When people if you're with someone who doesn't know what that is. I mean, I give Wesley credit for knowing that it was epilepsy, that it was an epileptic attack. Some people may not know what it is. And so they may get triggered and go off the not deep end, but just not know how to react, not know how to help, not know what to do. They may call 911 and say, because they don't know what's happening. It may look like someone is about to pass. I don't know. I'm just saying like I do feel like it is important for people to be aware um, of the condition so that they know the appropriate response and can have an appropriate response for it. Sister Kaisha.
Yes, I just wanted to mention about I don't my best friend who I did invite, she didn't come on because we've just in normal conversation, her and I have her childhood epilepsy where she did have a reaction just because the movie came up and she did have a reaction with the partner, freaked him out. It did. And her story, I wish she was here, but her story was that she did feel it and know how to explain because he he freaked out so much. She didn't know how to explain it. But it is when you don't know how the person, because they may need to give you support. You might have fell or hurt yourself and the person don't know. But I will tell you my experience. I shared last night with her, same friend, when I Texas. Anyway, there was a campaign to try to get this young lady's job back because she worked at a nail salon. She was a very good assistant up in the town, and she had a seizure on the job, and she got fired. And she was seen at it's an Asian owned business, and she was seen as a liability. And the campaign about her trying to get her job back, appealing to the shop owners to give her job. She was a very good employee. However, with small businesses, they might not have the insurance or the legal know-how to have an in their business that has a medical emergency like that. So unfortunately, and she was missed her fate, but unfortunately she did. And from the story, she was taking her medication. She was really trying to control it. But what my friend Tasha told me, it was a breakthrough seizure. You are on medication and it still happens. And so anyway, that's what I wanted to bring up with epilepsy and in public as well. In public. So I'm complete.
Oh,
I want to.
this, I
Yeah,
was gonna say there was a comment. But I wanted to say something. Can I read it?
go ahead.
I said, can I read the comment?
Yeah.
I pronounced her name right. Sorry if I did. That was very challenging watching this scene. I had a friend who used to have seizures, and she would call me out. She would be talking with great difficulty, mumbling and incoherent, and would sometimes start talking in French. But one year I was attending with her about her rent. She was very stressed. She went into a seizure in the courtroom. Her movements lifted up a desk and went crazy. They called the medics while I had used essential oils to help her, but they would not let me near her. They strapped her down when the medics came, wheeled her out out to the hospital. The judge said after she left that she had made up to avoid his judgment. That man ruled her incompetent and had her evicted. Before we got home from that woman's items were all over the street. Thank you for sharing that. You want to say something to that before we do the next one?
I'm speechless and I don't even know what to say. I'm not surprised because to this day, there is still stigma with epilepsy and I've actually heard people say, was it a real seizure? Or were they faking it? Or, I've heard it, not just with my general doing this. There's such a lack of ignorance. I mean, there is ignorance, excuse me. A lack of, and this is just sad. Like I'm still reading it, and then they left. If you don't mind me asking, where was this? That they left her stuff on the street? Home from the hospital, that woman's items were all over the street. That sounds like it's down south.
This is I didn't camera or not. I knew this was going to be a long story, but it's still today concerned. I'll never forget that day. And it was in Washington, D.C. The, halfway enlightened area.
Right.
Yeah. I think of people down south and the islands and some of the countries that there's not as much medical knowledge and awareness in DC. And I often was with this sister. After that, we ran home, we got rooms up as best we could. She didn't have a seizure when we got home, but she kept like moving towards some of the symptoms I had seen her, because we see symptoms as they were about to, I guess you call pre-seizure symptoms, yes. There were some things that she was beginning to show. And I could see that the stress and the trauma of seeing all her things all over the people running in and grabbing her things, and we were trying to tell people leave stuff alone, things like that. You could see it. I felt like anymore, please don't have another seizure. But somehow or another, well, I'm a breathologist, so I had to kind of breathe and I had to kept relax, kept having her, I kept speaking to her and I kept holding her, things like that. And the compassion that you speak of, I think, is critical, because if a person is there in a supported role like I was that day, I believe it helped not have that second seizure, right? Because that first one was it was a doozy. She was kind of a big woman. When she into that seizure, her legs botched up so tight, it literally lifted this heavy wooden court desk that can be down in courtrooms. Big heavy desk. It lifted up and almost like tossed it. And so how this judge could think this woman was making this up was so amazing to me that, from that point on, every time we went places and I saw some of the symptoms, I realized her was a big, big part of creating the seizure and how we started doing certain things alleviated. Breathe, relax, essential oils. I would carry lavender, uh, things of that nature, and just help her try to de-stress it down, And uh, the bottom line is that she continued over a number of years having seizures. She went to the had quite a few seizures, hospitalized, and she just recently crossed over. She crossed over this year. Yeah, she crossed. But I'm amazed still that she lived a pretty full life as her, and there would be times she would hold up other people while they was going through all kinds of stresses and trains and traumas, and it would not she would not internalize it, and it would not create a seizure in her. But it became very difficult to know when was she gonna seizure or not. But stigma was a big part of her life. The stigma of it. She was always trying to hide it, always not willing to talk about it to other than just a few of us who knew her and were close to her and supported her. So, thank you for very much for bringing this to the Wu community. It's an important, as I did find in hanging out with this sister, seizures seem to have, I don't know, in people of color. I know because we are the most stressed. I think I do see that there's a great number of people who are challenged with epilepsy.
Thank you for sharing.
I'm complete. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. You said something that stood out, which is why we do this. People don't talk about it. And we had a session a while back on, the question was, when is it the right time to tell someone that you have epilepsy or you're prone to seizures? This video, that scene right there, explains why it's important to say something from the beginning.
Yeah.
This coincides with Healthy, Wealthy, and Wise. You asked about having a seizure or this condition with the wrong person. I have your number. We're going to speak more in depth, but just to say, just to say that if you have epilepsy and you're with a person that intentions, and their intentions are things that are going to put stress on you, you're pretty much putting yourself in a position that you're going to have increased seizure activity, or you're going to be at risk to having seizures from the you through. In the aspect of being a caregiver to someone, your child, let's say, having epilepsy, your child has special needs. And you may be with a person that uses that to their advantage. What they may do is make you feel that no one else is going to deal with this. So they're supportive. They provide everything on the outside that looks to be that they're not leaving you. They're taking care. But what they're doing is they're leading other lives behind your back, let's say. It puts you in a position where you may feel that you are stuck because you need the help. You're a giver. You don't know how you're going to make it without them because they're providing while you're sitting there doing care of your child. And I've seen this happen in real life. and with people that have are. This is why support is so important. This is why support is so important, because I can tell you right now, as while watching my son go through his seizures and schooling and the injuries, I had no feeling of self. I felt alone. I felt like I didn't have enough support that I needed. And I felt like I was trapped. I get into that. But I felt like I was trapped with my situation because the only help I had other intentions of using that to their advantage. That vulnerability. And this is why it's so important that we talk about and have support groups, because it's a very, very lonely journey. It's a very, very lonely journey. And I want to thank you for sharing that. And again, Healthy, Wealthy, and Wise, I will contact you and speak more in depth about this. I could help provide support wise and, listen to what, you may be going through or know someone who's going. I'm open and willing to share.
All right. So I know we have another video coming up. I just want to kind of clear the chat, and then we can, I guess, move on to the next one. Sister Zakia shared that she felt gratitude that he recognized it and supported her. And I think those two things are important, that the recognition and the support. I pray that more people have that kind of experience than those who are with the wrong type of person. And we're ready to move on to the next video.
Can I just say something? Sam has said something earlier, and I just been trying to wait. I don't want it to get too far though, but spoke about like when people have seizures, sometimes other people really don't know how to respond, and it may get ignored, and that's true because one, Eamon's seizure anniversary is tomorrow. It was November 24th when Eamon had his of 2021. And so when he had that first seizure, yes, he met Tara, and Tara had already explained to me what it looks like. And so I knew what to look for the first time with my child. And so I didn't do anything. When Eamon had that first seizure, I screamed and was yelling for my son. He had his headphones on playing his game, so he didn't even hear me. And so it had to be less than a minute that it was happening. But while it was happening, his face movements that I had, that it just didn't look like something that somebody could make the faces. So I panicked, and I needed to see it again before I got help. I don't I don't blame myself for anything, but I know that I have immediately did something. But with it being the first time, I really did not know what to do. I didn't know if it would happen again. I didn't know. I was facing something I didn't know what to do with. So it took for the second seizure to happen for me to say, I need to call his doctor and let her know that he needs a neurologist. I was scared. And so, yes, people definitely ignore it. Is why I'm doing the work with Tara, to make sure that people are aware of at least what it looks like and what they're facing, so that when in itself, they don't ignore it. And I'm complete.
Maybe we can move to the next slide. And what we're going to see here is epileptologist. And what an epileptologist is, in comparison to a neurologist, an epileptologist is deals with epilepsy. And this epileptologist is going to speak on psychogenic seizures. You have neurological seizures, which are epileptic seizures, and then you have psychogenic seizures, which are, as some look at it, psychiatric. So he's going to explain the difference. I actually and I learned a lot from it. So we can play that slide.
Most people will have these events after they got trauma. They are not stressed now. So if somebody, for example, got traumatic life experience, has an accident, has an abuse or something like that, they had it like 10 years ago. In the heat of the trauma and the heat of the problem, they do not have any non-epileptic seizures. When they come, when they're married, they're in a safe environment, they're in a safe relationship, then their brain kind of like worries about going back and then start to cause this as a defense mechanism. So it can be something that happens later on.
All right, so Dr. Danoon, are psychogenic non-epileptic seizures seizures?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. I'm very excited and passionate about this subject, so definitely I'd love to talk about it. Yes, they are seizures. So psychogenic non-epileptic seizures, they are seizures, and the patient has real seizures that happen. Patient will faint, will lose consciousness, will shake, we will have real symptoms that happens. But the difference between epileptic seizures, which is an electricity storm that goes into the brain and causes symptoms to happen, and the non-epileptic seizures is that when you record EEG and brain waves, the brain continues to be normal during psychogenic seizures, and the generator and the cause of it is different than epilepsy. And that's why the treatment and our understanding is different than epilepsy. But they are seizures, yes.
So if someone is diagnosed with psychogenic non-epileptic seizures, are they considered epileptic?
Well, the word epileptic has a connotation and understanding of somebody has epilepsy means that they have excess electricity in the brain and there are epileptic seizures happen. So I don't think that we can call people with non-epileptic seizures or psychogenic non-epileptic seizures epileptics, but they do have disabling seizures and they can be as disabling and even worse than epileptic seizures.
I find psychogenic non-epileptic seizures fascinating is because, first of all, there's a stigma that unfortunately that patients have to deal with. They're having these episodes that are uncontrollable, and there's a certain kind of stigma that they're living with. What are some of the things that you tell your patients who are dealing with PNES for short when they come to see you?
Yeah, the first thing after we finish the diagnosis, which we will talk about later, but the first thing I tell them that your seizures are real, 100% real. The fact that they are psychological in nature and happens because of different mechanism in the brain does not mean that they're fake. You're getting them to have an attention or to get out of a situation or you're faking it or all in your head. That's all wrong. They are real seizures, but the reason why they happen is different than epileptic seizures. So that's why we need to kind of approach it differently. But definitely one of the most challenging things is to understand like why they're happening and what happens to the brain. Most people, doctors tell the patients that they do not have epilepsy. So it's kind of telling you, what's your name? My name is not John. It's like, okay, it's an information, but not very useful information. Right. You don't have epilepsy. Okay, why do I fall and shake every day? So that's the problem. So the more we understand it, which we did lots of research, and now we can give them what they have, which is the non-epileptic seizures, and it's happening in the brain. And there are mechanisms that generates it, but it's psychological in nature rather than epileptic and having excess electricity.
So what I'm hearing you say is epilepsy that is caused by abnormal firing of the brain's electrical activity, that's considered, that they are considered epileptic. And people who are experiencing symptoms that are very similar to these epileptic events, maybe they have these events and they're on an EEG. Is that how really you diagnose?
Yeah, let's talk about diagnosis of non-epileptic seizures. So the diagnosis journey begins with the neurologist. So we talk to the patient, do the physical exam, and talk about what symptoms they have. And it will be very valuable to see a video of the event itself, either a recorded camera or somebody record them on their phone. So that will be very helpful to have a video of the event. And then the description of the event can be different a little bit, nuances here and there between epileptic seizure and non-epileptic seizure. For example, because epileptic seizures are electricity storm in the brain, there's misfiring and then excess electricity. The area of the brain that is activated, it will show the symptoms in an exaggerated manner. So for example, it starts with like face jerking, deja vu or something like that, and then it will spread to all the body jerking, and they will be confused afterwards and tired, and maybe they bite their tongue or with themselves and so on. So these are kind of symptoms of epileptic seizure. They last for a short period of time, like 1 to 2 minutes. In non-epileptic seizures, it's kind of different. It starts slow and builds up with time. It is on and off, shake and then stop and then shake again. It is asynchronous, means that in epilepsy you have like jerking in one plane, one rhythm. In non-epileptic seizure will be like fast, moving in and out, right and left, and it can change. Somebody will move in and out and stop and start. So these are all features of non-epileptic seizures. The eyes will be closed in non-epileptic seizures and will be open in epilepsy or rolled up. And other things, the emotion. Usually in non-epileptic seizures, people will be emotional. They might cry inside the seizure or something like that. And it can be more prolonged, like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, on and off during the seizure. And consciousness and awareness can be impaired in both. But some non-epileptic seizures, they cannot respond, but they still can hear people around them, but they cannot talk or respond. These features are kind of more non-epileptic seizures and epileptic seizures. So the description of the event can give us a hint on what are we dealing with. The definite diagnosis is to send the patient to the epilepsy monitoring unit, do a video EEG, hook him up to the EEG machine, see their brain waves, and do a video to see what they do, and then have them stay in the hospital until a seizure happens. We stop medications sometimes to induce seizures, or we give them flashing of lights, hyperventilation, sleep deprivation, anything we can do to trigger the events. And once the seizure happens, then we look at the brain waves at that time. If the brain waves are showing electricity storm and kind of a very expected signature, then at that time it's like, okay, we have non-epileptic seizure, like we have epilepsy. And then if the shaking happens, we see the shaking that's consistent with non-epileptic seizure, and we see the changes in the brain that are still normal, then we see that this is non-epileptic seizure. The brain waves continue to be normal, and that can tell them apart, and that's the gold standard of diagnosis. Yeah. So once we record their typical events, all the events that happen at home, and they are non-epileptic, we call it documented. That's 100% accurate diagnosis that they do have non-epileptic seizures.
So you see these patients on a weekly basis?
So, thank you, Tiara. She has sent me this video, and I've heard of psychogenic seizures. It's come up on a number of sessions. Many people have had questions on it. I, am not anywhere near or in relation to those seizures. But this video actually taught me the difference in a non-epileptic and an epileptic seizure. I remember I brought this up in prior sessions where my son, the neurologist, had questions if he was having psychogenic seizures. And I was interestingly, the epileptologist in this clip had said that they bring them in for an EEG, and the EEG will show in a non-epileptic seizure the brain, and on an epileptic seizure, the brain waves are abnormal. And interestingly, he suggested this. I had to actually suggest this with this particular neurologist, which is why I had such and I was the one that fought for him to have a bike in his room. I sleep deprived him. I had his in the hospital so it can have him play on the Xbox with a loss of sleep and malnourished. A seizure, so they can see that it was actually an epileptic seizure. This video taught me in the difference between non-epileptic seizure, their body is not in a particular consistent rhythm. stops and then continues, and then they're long. It could be up to 30 minutes. So this is I learned a lot from this particular. I want to watch the whole thing. I think it's about 20 minutes long. And for anyone, in the chat, the information as to what we've played. So if you want to actually look at it and see more of it, by all means, please do. Tiara, do you want to say anything? Oh, you got to unmute yourself.
I'm not sure if what I'm thinking goes with what we're talking about right now.
No, just share.
Okay, so we're looking for videos and thinking about relationships. I had came across a video that spoke about non-documented and immigrants with epilepsy. And in the particular video, it was an entire family and working at some kind of factory. They were all working there together. And one of the men had epilepsy. And so he was experiencing seizures, scared of the owner of the business finding out, similar to what the lady experienced in the courtroom. And so he ended up having a really bad seizure, and everyone left. They called 911, but they packed up all of their belongings and they left the man at the place.
And that was his family that left him.
His entire family left because he was going to need medical attention, and they knew that would draw attention to their lifestyle. And so to get him the help that he needed, they abandoned him. And then eventually his mom started to reach out to him to let him know that he could come back home if he was okay. And so just sitting here thinking about how epilepsy shows up just in general and how people respond to it, it's really scary for the individual. And so I do my journaling work. I've come across so many people who have said that they have epilepsy or have experienced seizures, but they don't say. But these are the reasons why people don't say anything. They're afraid of how it's going to be handled. They're afraid of how it's going to be, how people will judge them after. The film that we watched in the beginning, when Sanaa was laying there in that bed and he asked her why she didn't say anything, and she said, because people judge, people will treat her different. And so this is something that's detrimental to her life. She was trying to keep it to herself. And so, with us doing this particular, I have a different compassion. Like, I know I went through it with my son, but seeing it on your scale is frightening, because it's ignored and it's not given the attention that it needs. So many people are experiencing seizures. I spoke to a parent the other day. She was complaining about her son zoning out. And Tara talked so much about how that's a sign, that I kept pushing this mom reach out to her house pediatrician and see about a neurologist. And the mom is just like, no, they're just dazing out. And I'm family.
Yeah. I just want to jump in real quick, Sister Tara. It is, and do a time check. It is 8:09. So I know some people may have to head out. I want to thank everyone for coming in this morning. If you do have to go, I'm going to ask if you can stay, that you do stay with us to the very end, so we can finish the presentation. I think we should be able to close out pretty much close to 8:30. So again, if you can stay with us till that point in time, we'll truly appreciate it. All right.
I want to respond to it's another fear that has come up that I haven't really spoke about, but I've been asked about my daughter. And being that I have epilepsy and my son has epilepsy, I think to myself, God forbid, he's has the gene or develops epilepsy at any point. Sometimes when she's very disorganized, she's not paying attention, or I'll find her just staring. I'm transparent. The fear of finding out that she may have it. I should take her to a neurologist, but the fear of finding out, them saying she's having seizure activity, the fear that is medication.
I can relate. I recently had a few fainting few times this month, and my doctor actually wants me to see the neurologist considering Eamon's history, and I canceled my appointment. But I definitely understand the fear of finding out.
Yeah, it's because we know what we know what comes with it. She's an honor student. She's fantastic. I'm more on top of her and pushing her because of the fear of, let's just say she does what I went through with my son, where he's affected. And even for myself, I haven't been to a neurologist in a while. The one I did go to here in Florida, I did not like him. There was a very, very, very bad disconnect, because I know what I know, and I knew what he was trying to do. So Tiara, I'm glad that we're both being very transparent here, because at the end of the day, we may know what we look at us like, well, if you know this, then why aren't you going above and beyond for yourself or for your daughter? We're human before anything. And yeah, we're intelligent, we're experienced, we know therapeutically, it's easier to advocate for other people than yourself, because I know else, I feel good. I feel like I took some kind of control over a situation that I can't control. And if I were to a neurologist, your VNS needs to be replaced, not taken out. You're having I know I'm having a lot of seizure activity. And my stress level in my life is ridiculous, and it's not getting any better. But prayer has helped me sustain me. Helping others is a therapeutic thing, but when it's yourself, we all have, many are still going through that. Go ahead, Sierra. I know you want to. So, yeah, I'm glad you shared that, Sierra, because I don't feel alone with that. I don't feel alone with
And this is why we do the work that we do. And so far this month has really encouraged us. The Woo community encouraged us, which is why we're going to tell you guys about the support group that we are starting. The reasons why. Because we need spaces to be able to have these dialogues. As the leader I'm the mother, I'm a single parent. Well, I'm not a single parent anymore, but I do live in a household with my children. Of something being wrong with me does sound scary, because if I'm the one who is there to make sure they're okay, if I'm not okay, one, how can I show up for them? And two, I need them to show up for me. And so this support group is to definitely be something needed in our community. And it's going to be a how do they say it? A breath of fresh air. And so you could tell a little bit more now about
I'm actually excited for this because this is a space, a safe space for you to come on and you know, even if you experience with epilepsy, but there's another condition that you're dealing with, we welcome you to the group. This is literally just support. It's not about giving facts. It's not about, you know, giving expertise on. This is just for you to openly say what you're going through, what you're feeling. That I can promise you, anyone else in the space is going through the same thing or has gone through the same thing. And it's just to offer each other support. It's one thing I wish I would have done a while back, or I wish I would have actually had for myself with my son. Just safe to say anything you want to say, you know, even if it's something like, you know, you feel guilty, your child or whoever it is going through this, you feel guilty or you feel like there's no right or wrong to get this out, because getting these feelings out and acknowledging them is so important. So this support group sees and we're going to be holding this monthly, and our first support group is going to be this Tuesday the 25th at 7 p.m. Just, we're gonna share the flyer soon. Just please join, come with openness, come to, no matter what you're going through, you will not be judged, and we're there to support. I Okay, so we can move to the next slide. We have a few minutes. So this is the flyer for the support group, and it's called Seize the Moment, Epilepsy and Support Group. Tiara and I have partnered to do this together, as I was saying, and it's this Tuesday, the 25th at 7 p.m. Both our emails are there. So how it works is you RSVP via email, either or, and then we will send you the link to join the day before.
And if you would like to donate to C Secure, you can find the event under Tiara's Voyage or under Seize the Moment, Epilepsy and Seizure Support Group.
So I just want to say we will come back to this slide in the presentation. We just wanted to get this to people in case anyone has to go, but we will show this briefly again.
Thank you.
We can move to the next slide. Okay. So another, to let everyone know, we are in the month of November, which is ending very soon. Next week, we will be having our last session, and that particular session, we're going to talk about, I'll have a guest speaker, and he is a personal trainer. He has epilepsy. He's in his 20s, and he went to school for personal training and a dietitian. And he is going to be speaking about his journey on having epilepsy and how he combated it, training and changing diet. So he has a lot to offer on this topic. It's something that's always questioned about exercise. It can be a trigger. At the same time, it can help to strengthen. So he'll be on next Sunday. Piggybacking off the video, here you just kind of a detailed description of what epilepsy can cause psychologically and neurologically. And here's the list: psychologically, anxiety and depression. Just so everyone knows, I actually was diagnosed. I was suffering from depression. I think I was about 12, and number of situations where my depression got out of control. It took a number of situations where finally said, you know, let's test her to see if she has epilepsy, because my father has it. And it came out. I had an EEG, and it was showing that I was having seizure activity. And for those who don't know, and depression and anxiety coincide with each other between the condition itself and the medications. So these are not only what epilepsy can cause, but these are some signs that you may have epilepsy. Low self-esteem, which obviously comes, you know, can come from depression, aggression, suicidal self-abuse, loss of emotional awareness, post-traumatic stress disorder, ADD, ADHD, poor skills, lack of motivation, feeling different, unwanted by others, dementia, 22%. And then we have neurologically can cause same loss of memory, which could be short-term or long-term. With my son, very interestingly, his long-term is intact, but the seizures have damaged his short-term memory. It's very interesting. Loss of neurons, damage in specific locations, cognitive impairments, sudden unexpected death in epilepsy, also known as SUDEP. What that is, for those who don't know, certain types put you at risk for death that's unexplained in someone with epilepsy. My son was particularly at high risk, being that he has refractory epilepsy. And what refractory epilepsy is that is not controlled by medications. Shorter lifespan. That's a hard one to read. Sleep apnea affects the heart rate and slurred speech. And I want to say that kind of hits, because just the other day, my son said something, you know, his cousin passed away. And my son says, you know, I'm probably not going to live long. And I said, why do you say that? And he's like, well, you know, I have epilepsy. I may be good. The reality is, you know, just reading that and connecting to what he said, it kind of just, so it's a hard reality, which is what we were just talking about. The fear of finding out and knowing what comes with it, especially when you're the provider in your household. Tierra, what you said, I completely relate to. It's almost like we're supposed to be good. We're supposed to be healthy. We're supposed to be able to fight anything. You know, soldiers. This is what we do. Yeah. And we have very similar personalities. So I completely relate to you on that. And I'm sharing that. We can move to the next slide.
The rainbow, why? Then oh why can't I?
What's going on?
It's Mom.
Is Robbie worse?
No, he's the same. She said she found something, different kind of treatment that can help Robbie. Diet.
You mean it can make his seizures go away? Good, Mom. A diet. Why don't we try a rain dance? Then I'll get a doll that we can all stick pins in.
Dr. Foreman's office. How may I help you?
Hi, this is Lori Rymuller, and I've just read Dr. Livingston's book about the diet that treats childhood epilepsy, and I would like to make an appointment for my son.
Well, we have a cancellation tomorrow at 1:30.
But you're in Maryland, and I'm calling from Kansas City.
I'm sorry. That's our only opening for 3 months.
3 months? Oh, no. Robbie can't wait 3 months. He's too sick.
Well, then he'll require hospitalization, and there are no available beds in our inpatient program for the foreseeable future. Why don't I put you on our waiting list? We do have cancellations.
I need to talk to the doctor.
He's with patients, Mrs. Reimuller. Why don't you send us your son's records? I'm sure something will come up before too long.
Okay, I'll take that appointment tomorrow.
What is the patient's name?
Robbie? Reimuller, R-E-I-M-U-L-L-E-R. Thank you.
Who is it?
I've been doing some reading, and I've come across a treatment for epilepsy called the ketogenic diet. It's by a doctor from Johns Hopkins. And the diet, the best I understand it, makes the body go into a fasting state, and something about that fasting state stops the seizures.
Comprehensive Management of Epilepsy in Infancy, Childhood, and Adolescence by Samuel Livingston. Bible on Pediatric Epilepsy. Every neurologist in the country owns a copy. With the exception of the material on the ketogenic diet, it's an invaluable piece of medical literature. The diet is not an approved treatment.
But there have been a lot of studies.
Those studies are anecdotal, not the kind of studies we base sound medical judgment on, not double-blind studies. The ketogenic diet is highly suspect. You have to starve the child to begin with, and then what you feed him consists mainly of fat, which is not only unpalatable, but nutritionally inadequate and extremely difficult to maintain. I've seen it tried a few times, and my experience is that it simply doesn't work. I've been meaning to give this to you. It's a number of an outstanding pediatric neurosurgeon on our staff. It's time to see if we can find a focus, a starting point in the brain for Robbie's seizures. If we can, there's a good possibility we can remove it.
Not brain surgery? We don't want brain surgery.
I'm not proposing surgery. Not yet. I'm talking about a diagnostic procedure. We remove the top of the skull and place electrodes on the brain for a few days to see if we can map it and try to locate the problem. It's the next logical step, and I'd like to schedule it immediately.
We can't, because we're going to Baltimore. Robbie has an appointment with Dr. Foreman at Johns Hopkins tomorrow.
And how are you planning to get Robbie to this appointment?
I booked us on a flight.
There is a danger of a life-threatening seizure if you stop the drugs abruptly.
Well, I was talking about stopping drugs. I have administered enough drugs to Robbie in 9 months to get a pharmacy degree.
You'll need an ambulance to transfer him from the hospital. A plane that will accommodate a medical transfer, his meds, a drip, emergency oxygen, and a doctor to accompany him.
There is no way that we can afford all that.
When you have met these conditions for his safe transport, I'll be glad to sign for his release.
The fight be real. That's all I could say. I've never heard of this movie. I just wrote it down. I am definitely going to watch it. You have to have the skin when advocating for your child with people who have not experienced what you're experiencing. Because book knowledge is awesome, but it's the name of the movie is Lorenzo's Oil.
No, it's not.
No? Oh, I thought that was the name of
It's
it.
okay. No. Lorenzo's Oil is a similar situation of a child with a
Oh, okay. I knew it was a movie like it. So
yes,
it's the one.
that movie is First Do No. That's the name of the title. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Definitely gonna watch that movie. Me of when I went to the same neurologist that I had to have my son admitted, and I said, if you're gonna make and the hospital's gonna make money off of his admission, we're gonna trigger a seizure. This same neurologist had to prescribe, because I actually brought him to this particular hospital because they're supposed to be experts in CBD oil. I don't know what the problem was, but she did not want to prescribe it. You know, Epidiolex was FDA. My research, I learned from my events doing Caesar Cure and meeting people that I need to try this. This movie just did it for me, just because she tried very hard to not prescribe it. She actually, you know, I had to fight just to get a prescription for this, you know, CBD oil. Watching this clip, diet, this has come up in every session that diet, something that doctors will not make any money off of. You know, every time they write a prescription, they're making money. The pharmaceutical company is making money.
They
Go
are
ahead.
figuring it out though, because what they've started to do, the diet, they started to create programs that will give you the materials that you need. So now they're a little bit more open to benefit from it. The CBD though, no, they still give a fight, because I had the same situation with Amy. We realized that all of the medications were not working and not even slow the seizures down. Eamon was having, according to EEG. And so when we realized that the medications weren't working, they were going to start doing like a hemoglobin transfer. I don't remember what it was. But when they wanted to do that process, I was nervous about that process because it was similar to transfusion. Yeah. And so I had wanted to try CBD. And they said that it would be too expensive and for me to try what was being offered. And we did. But we ended up having brain surgery.
That's statement. It's too expensive. Who are you to determine what is even expensive for me? I got so much on that video just did it. And what we go through for our kids, you know, and I'm glad this coincides with the guest next week, because he speaks about life changes to control his epilepsy. You know, he's only 24 years old. He's a young man that he took matters into his own hands health-wise to control his seizures. And it makes me, you know, it makes me really think, just thinking about the key. They have you fast. It's something that should be done in a hospital, because the body goes through transition, and that transition can cause seizures, but multiple seizures back to back, which is very dangerous. Mm-hmm. And it pretty much, you put on a fat, and you're going into, I believe it's high fat foods that are high fat, which in other areas is not. And correct me if I'm not being clear, Tiara, or if I'm wrong in what I'm saying, because I don't know much about that diet, but I do know that it makes me think about how our foods, if they're putting your body through a fast, just to have it have one particular type of fat, for too much are foods actually triggering or causing seizures.
I mean, both of our children started having
tomato sauce. We learned this doing a session here. We learned this
from eating tomato sauce. And then when you go a little further, right, from farms use pesticides create seizures or contribute to seizures. That a little further, think about the population of people who it shows, what community it shows up in. You know, people of color. Who are the people that are on these farms? You know, it's all connected. And yes, the ketogenic diet is a high-fat, low-carbonated diet used to treat seizures, especially for those whose seizures are not controlled by medication. It involves strict ratios of fat, and its effectiveness has been shown in multiple studies.
We have a comment. Clark, a partamate artificial sweetener is a known neurotoxin that can cause seizures. I've heard artificial sweeteners in general, so I'm not surprised reading that. It's and we're going back into diet, nutrition, how much and again I keep saying this. I'm about convulsions. We're talking about the seizures that you don't see, that our children are being misdiagnosed and being diagnosed by schools and education purposes, not sent to neurologists. We're talking about so many different things that we may think it's just. I've heard people say, well, it's because I'm getting older that my memory is losing, and they've had this for a long time. How much of it is that? But the diet and nutrition is something that comes up with not just epilepsy, any condition, any disease, anything that they can make money off of. That's what they're going to introduce to you first before saying, let's try these life changes to see how that helps.
All right, so it is 8:36. We're gonna start winding down a little bit. We do have hand up. We have healthy, wealthy, and wise. Can you please go ahead and just be mindful of our time? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Grand Rising, peace and blessings. Assalamu alaikum. Yes, I just did notice the time. My apologies for so late. And then also I apologize. I was not trying to mislead anybody with the title of the movie, but while the movie was going, that movie I saw many years ago, Lorenzo's Oil, and how diligent that mother was with finding a cure for with her baby, and how the society in which we live, like it was said earlier, is motivated from what they can gain. And if they can't gain, if there's no money to have, then we're not going to put a lot of it, right? So thank you so much for this conversation and the information that we're getting. And so I just want to, Sam, I wanted to, in the community chat, the grave importance of paying attention, not just eat, but listen to, right? And watch through our eye gates and ear gates, because that impacts our energy. And so that's what I was thinking about when you guys are sharing all of this. Is I think about the aluminum pans, in addition to use in our kitchen, different materials we've been conditioned. We got this bottled water we've been to drink from. Oh wow, it's a lot, and I really want to encourage this community and to tap into that, because there's information there to be had, and there's lessons to learn and be of how crafty people are who want to gain and not thinking about the welfare of the whole, right? Because what affects you impacts me. Yes, of course. Even if I'm Africa, what affects us here impacts those who are in Africa, Mexico, Italy, all over. I want to just throw that out there. Thank you so much for letting me share, and I hope to hear from you soon, beloved Queen.
Thank you. The bottled water, I was about to grab mine. I said, let me put it down. The aluminum pans, I want to look into that. But something very interesting. I'm complete. Tiara, you wanted to say something?
Nope.
No? Okay, so I guess we will move forward with the next slide. Start to close out.
So we just want to bring out the info again for the support group.
Yes. Please join us Tuesday Again, just RSVP and we'll send you the link so you can join Tuesday at 7 p.m.
And we'll have contact information later on in the presentation. So if you didn't get that information, you'll still be able to get it from them if you contact them directly.
So here is ways you can donate: PayPal, Zelle, Cash App to Seize the Cure for everything that we do. We do not get paid for. Donations are always are welcome and help with us providing the program. And I always like to read this. I had taken the word epilepsy and made each letter to describe what we are about. So P for persevere, I for inspire, L for love, E for enlighten, P for prosper, S for support, and Y for youth, on education for our youth and epilepsy. And that's the website. We have our Cash App and the ways you can contact us as well. Move to the next slide. And this is my contact information. Easiest way to contact me is via phone, but please not just call, because if I don't recognize the number, I won't answer. Also through Facebook, Seize the Cure, Instagram at Seize the Cure, and email is seizethecureforepilepsy.com. Our website is being worked on as we speak, and that is seizethecureforepilepsy.com. You, Tiara.
And I am Tiara Berry, known as Sweets Rights. You can find me on Facebook at Tiara Berry. You can find me at Sweets Rights. And my email is berrytiara@gmail.com or sweetsrights.com. Can definitely go to my website, www.sweetsrights.com, and find out about everything that I have going on. Thank you.
You ladies for another wonderful presentation this morning, this month of November. I know we have on every Sunday, so family, please come back again for next Sunday for the last in the series. And again, if you're inspired to make donations in support of the presentations, you can send a donation through Zelle or QuickPay to soulleadership@gmail.com and Cash App at $Spirit of a Woman. And for today's presentation, you can use code 1506 TGTB in honor of our two ladies this morning. And if you're moved to go even further, we also do accept monthly automated love offerings in increments of $25, $25, $50, $75, and $100. And if you want to do more than that, you can just double up on any one of those earlier increments and just use the corresponding bit.ly to make the donation. Okay. Coming up next tomorrow, we have our own Professor Marilyn Douglas Jones, and her topic TBD, but we know that Professor Marilyn always brings the fire, so make sure you don't miss it. And then coming on Tuesday, our own sister Queen Laura Clark will take us through how to make sea moss gel. So if you're not familiar with sea moss gel, sea moss contains, I want to say, maybe 92 out of the 102 minerals that the body needs to facilitate all the processes that those little organisms within us are doing every second of every day that we are alive. And so sea moss gel is one of the things that kind of help you to lead healthier, wealthier lives. So come back on Tuesday for that. Any new members, we welcome you. We are a community where we come to learn, elevate, and ascend. So thank you for being here with us. Again, what we do here this morning is what is done every day that WU operates. And so we do share different types of information. And again, if you are interested in being a presenter, definitely we'll have a slide for you later on as well. Our schedule, our live workshops, 5 days a week. Our extended sessions are on Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday, and those go from 7 to 8:30-ish. And Monday and Wednesday are with shorter sessions from 7 to 7:30-ish. We do our best to stay as close to those times as possible, but we all are aware of how spirit moves in us as we move through. You can catch us in several places. We'll go into that in a second, but we're definitely streaming live on Facebook. The WU alerts, if you want to text WU Nation to 74121, you'll get daily alerts whenever WU is in session. And these are great reminders. You may get caught up in doing something in the morning and forget, and then you'll get this WU alert. They'll come through and say, hey, such and such is talking about such and such. And you're like, whoa, I want to be there for this. So definitely I urge you to sign up for the WU alert so that you don't miss these amazing sessions that occur on WU. Staying in touch with us several different ways. You can register for us with us at bit.ly Wake Up Movement. Facebook, we have both a community public page and a private page. The private is bit.ly WU Community. The public is bit.ly WU Nation. Instagram at Wake Up Everybody Virtual. YouTube, we're bit.ly WU on YouTube, and that allows you to see all our prior sessions. And again, you can go all the way back to the beginning of WU and catch what was happening back 5 years ago. Our email, info.wakeupseries@gmail.com. If you have any information, any questions, you want to get contact information for one of our presenters, just send us that email. You want to volunteer to be an admin. You want to volunteer to be a facilitator yourself. WU is made up of volunteers, both on the admin side and on the facilitation side. And so we welcome everyone to come share in that experience based on what you want to do and what you can do. And let's go ahead and stop the share and take a spotlight off our sisters and give them their well-deserved love showers.
So much, beloved. I appreciate you.
I appreciate the
I do. Thank you so
information.
much.
Thank you, beloved. Thank you, thank you,
Thank
thank
you so
you.
much.
Thank you.
Really
Thank
great to
you.
hear
Keep
you
doing
be
what you're
your
doing. God bless you. Thank you.
feel comfortable with coming to share with us, and it has really allowed me to be
Presentation.
think about this
Yes,
as well.
sending you love.
Thank you. Very informative and enlightening.